I'd always known I wanted to help other people heal, because a lot of people would say, think that I had some special sauce, how I could treat this naturally for so many years successfully. And I think I just always had this truth that it was absolutely infinitely possible. Our bodies are incredible and incredibly intelligent, and everything that we need to heal is within us. And I just believed that so deeply. And now I'm just super passionate about helping other people reclaim their sovereignty and reclaim their truth and take back their own power and connect with how truly divine the healing process is, and that it is all within them and within their power to take control of their lives and affect change in all sorts of amazing ways that lead to better health.
Welcome to the House of Germar podcast, where wellness starts within. The House of Germar is a lifestyle brand empowering women to live all in through interior design and personal wellness. We are a destination for women ready to reimagine what is possible in their homes and lives and then create it. We are honored to have you join us on our mission to empower 1 million women to live all in. I am your host, Jean Collins, and I invite you to become inspired by this week's guest.
Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Jean Collins, and today's guest is Christine Ruch. I am really excited to talk to her. And I know I say that all the time for all my guests, because you know what? I only bring you guys people that I'm excited to talk to. But Christine she's a holistic transformation guide. Whoa. We're going to talk a lot about nervous system. We're going to talk about her background, how she got to do what she does. She specializes right now in clients with MS, but don't stop listening, because a lot of what we're going to talk about your nervous system can apply to anyone and everyone. So I am so excited to dig into a subject that I think is really, really cool, which is nervous system. So Christine, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
So first of all, you are in Boulder, Colorado. It's pretty early on a Monday morning in Connecticut, so thank you for getting up. But you also live in Costa Rica.
I do, yeah.
Okay. As we start to uncover who you are, what you do, how you got to this journey, I really want to know how you are living in multiple places, because I think you do actually spend time in multiple places. And that for many of us who are either empty nesters or have never had children, kind of think that's the dream life, to be able to build a business where you can live in multiple places. So let's make sure we cover off on that one too.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so to get started, give the listeners a little bit of background about yourself.
Okay. So, where do I even begin? I'm a holistic transformation guide, and I specialize in helping women with multiple sclerosis, because I've had multiple sclerosis for 20 years. And it started as, my own healing journey, and this deep belief from the very beginning that I could solve my health issues naturally. And I did it. 20 years ago, there's been a lot that's changed, and it's been quite a journey, and health is a journey. And then especially when you have a diagnosis, then if you view that as well as a journey unto itself, then that becomes a powerful path to healing. But at the same time, that was my personal life. And then my professional life, I have a degree in holistic nutrition, and I'm a holistic natural chef. And I was a holistic instructor for a long time, and a natural chef instructor. I'm at a culinary school. And then from there, I went and I opened a whole bunch of food businesses. And I had food brands, and I had a really, really successful restaurant in Boulder and some other food establishments for about a decade, and really fed everybody in Boulder just the healthiest, cleanest, badass food. And I just had the time of my life, and it was an absolute dream come true. I'd always wanted to have a restaurant that was a true community gathering place. But it was really interesting, because then a lot of it wasn't working anymore. And, there was COVID, and there was all kinds of things. And it was almost like the universe colluded with all of the forces that everything crumbled all at once. And then I blew up my life in the most spectacular way. And and it was really traumatic, actually. And I'm laughing about it now just because I'm on the other side. But that's actually what prompted me to look really deeply inside and start to recognize that while all of these external modalities for healing are incredibly valuable and important, I was missing some crucial core elements of healing from the inside and not
Mm.
fully in alignment and living in my truth and recognizing that a lot of the life that I was living wasn't actually serving me. And so
Mm.
then, yeah, I embarked on this deep, deep path of like inner exploration, almost like, dark night of the soul, which is real. And I did. I sold everything. I got a divorce. I blew up all my businesses and put everything in storage that I had left. And I took a suitcase and I went to Costa Rica. And I buried myself in the jungle for a year and a half. And I started working with these two healers, and it was incredibly magical. And that's where I really started focusing on like the deep value of this inner work and really the nervous system. And then coming into my own truth and alignment and just all of that. Like it started as a path to figure out like, what did I just do to my life, and how did this happen to me? And what the hell am I doing? And then it suddenly turned into this super sacred path of like inner truth and reconciliation. And in that process alone of coming into alignment, then my health just magically shifted all by itself. And it just was an incredible aha moment to bring all of the work I'd been doing for my health and for 20 years and crystallize it and bring it into like full alignment. And then I'd always known I wanted to help other people heal, because a lot of people would say, like, think that I had like some special sauce, like how I could treat this naturally for so many years successfully. And I think I just always had this truth that it was absolutely infinitely possible. Like our bodies are incredible and incredibly intelligent, and everything that we need to heal is within us. And I just believed that so deeply. And now I'm just super passionate about helping other people like reclaim their sovereignty and reclaim their truth and take back their own power and connect with like how truly divine the healing process is, and that it is all within them and within their power to take control of their lives and affect change in all sorts of amazing ways that lead to better health. That was a long answer to your story
No,
question.
but like, oh my goodness. Okay. So there's so much in that story. Like, whoa. All right. The first thing I want to know, because I think a lot of people get to the point where you said you were, where like things just weren't working. Right. And so it's like, okay, you get to the point where things just aren't working. How long did it take you before you were like, okay, I'm just going to blow. I need to do all these things. How long did that process take? Just to put it into perspective for people.
Well, I mean, I guess that's a really personal question. I mean, I'm happy to answer it, but I think this is where you need to know your own self. For my own personal path, I do have a long history of doing really radical things in a really fast way.
I do too.
So it's not, yeah, right. So like where other people can like sit on decisions for a long, long time and really struggle with that, that's not really one of my personal challenges. But actually, it was happening like 2022. And it was like, I think I was having a lot of frustration that whole entire year. And then in September, like I was just super frustrated. I had just opened another business in like May of that year. It was like, that was a whole, like, we don't even need to get into that necessarily because that's a waste of time. But there was all these little tiny drips in my life that
Mm,
started like exposing these cracks, in the foundation.
yeah.
And I was busy trying to like put like spackle on every crack in my life and absolutely not really seeing them or really like fully receiving the magnitude of what was really happening. Is just really in a denial because I didn't want to lose everything I built.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard.
I know it's super hard. But yeah, then the truth is though, then I did a plant medicine ceremony in September of 2022. I'd always been really called to that. And I
Hmm.
always felt like it would come to me when I needed to know the answers.
Yeah.
And so I did. I reached out and I had, we can talk about that if that's necessary. But I did. I had a plant medicine experience with Wachuma, which is sacred cactus. And I'm from Arizona, so it felt like a perfect thing for me to visit, like, and sit with a sacred plant, cacti. And then I went on a trip around the world. Well, I went to Europe and for a month by myself to really like sit with like what was happening in my life, like 6 days after I had that journey. And then I came back after a month. And then within 3 months, then it was it.
You're like, that was
I
it.
closed my restaurant in like 4 days. I just closed it. I just stopped, which by the way is a really bad idea. You don't do that. The ramifications are real.
Right.
But that was what I did. I just knew I had to just absolutely stop. And then once I did that though, it's kind of like, like you think you're going to get a new couch. You're super excited about the couch. You buy the new couch. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, the rug doesn't work. And the lamps suck, and so then you have to get new lamps and a new rug. And then you're like, oh, now I need to paint. So
Yes.
it's like, it was all exactly that happened where I just thought, oh my God, I just need to close this one business. And then it was like, oh no, you got to close them all.
You need to
and
do
then it was
all
like,
of the above.
oh my God. And then I started to see, once I had all that out of my way, all of the other places that my life wasn't working for me either, because it was all right there in front of me.
So I love what you said about how you just realized that doing one thing wasn't really enough. You had to kind of like break ties with all these different things and really dive in. The plant ceremonial work, I can totally relate. I know people who've done that. We've had a podcast guest on about that. And that's really powerful. And I do think when people get to the right place in time, it can be really helpful. I want to take one step back though. And this is going to sound really simple, but I guarantee you some of the listeners don't even understand. Can you help me understand what exactly MS is and the impact it had on your body? Even though, I mean, clearly you can cook, holistic medicine, nutrition, like you know how to take care of your body. Can you share a little bit about what was actually happening to your body as a result of having that? So what is it and what was the result it was having on your body before you made this big transition?
Yeah. So multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease and of your nervous system. And, it affects the myelin sheath in your brain and your spinal cord. And there's a lot of symptoms that range from like numbness, tingling, loss of feeling and sensation in your legs, a lot of optic neuritis. You can go blind. And the trajectory of the disease, untreated and unchecked, is like debilitation, like you could be blind and in a wheelchair. You don't actually die of the disease specifically, but you die of, well, all of the other things. Like, nobody wants to be bedridden and blind.
Right.
So the modern techniques are pharmaceutical techniques, or a lot of drugs that target, your immune system, immune modulation, and your myelin sheath and, things of that nature. And I feel like I started with diet because you start with things that really affect your nervous system. Although in the modern world, we don't really think about it like as specifically a way in which you can actually self-modulate your nervous system.
Right.
That was like kind of came later. But we look at all of the things that impact inflammation, right? Because it's a disease of the inflammation process. And so we, look at diet, we looked at environment and other types of healing modalities that really lower the inflammation. But stress comes into it, but I don't know that it's actually a big part of the conversation. But zooming way out, I think my personal belief, especially after 20 years, is, yeah, it's a disease that is, I don't even want to say it's a disease. I think it's a manageable condition that is an indication of a deep dysregulation of your nervous system and your body talking to you. And as soon as you learn how to listen to that, then your body responds. So I had a lot of success because I'd only treated naturally and I've never done pharmaceutical intervention, but I had a very tight life. I had a very tight diet. I had a very tight lifestyle. I had like the perfect sleep hygiene and perfect mattress and like the perfect water and the perfect diet. But I wasn't actually connected with the fact that I worked 100 hours a week and had 3 businesses and 75 employees. And I went to yoga and I like did all of this stuff. And I thought that was like, I was crushing it.
Yeah.
And then I really started to look at the other ways in which my nervous system was absolutely shot, and I wasn't paying attention to that huge aspect of things. Like I could do all I could to like lower my inflammatory markers.
Yeah.
But until I looked at what was actually causing my inflammation to begin with, then outside of my diet, things changed really rapidly and really profoundly.
Yeah. I personally just think it's fascinating. I think nervous system regulation is fascinating, but I also think it's incredibly overwhelming because it feels
Mhm.
like it's very grounded in like your mind and using your mind to control your body. And how did you deal with that? Like, how did you learn to do that?
Well, I love what you just said because actually, well, I want to validate what you said because a lot of people, like you can fix your gut, let's say, but it's hard to believe that you can fix your nervous system because, like, you
Yeah.
can find your gut, you know what to do for your gut, but nervous system feels a little nebulous, right? You can't go and cut into your body and be like, oh, yes, there's the nervous system.
Yes.
But I would like to say that the nervous system doesn't exist in our mind, it's our body. And we think it's in our mind, but actually it's our entire body. It's in our fascia. It's in every cell of our body. It is the interface. It's actually in you and outside of you.
Yeah.
It's the energetic sense of the world and what's safe and what's not safe. And so it's a sensing, feeling thing more than it is a mental construct. And now, currently, there's definitely modalities that are like a nervous system reset or a vagus nerve reset. And all of those things are somatic experiencing. And those are all incredibly important part of the process. And like traumatic release. And all of these are really important nervous system techniques, but you're not necessarily going and recognizing you can befriend your nervous system, you can control your nervous system, you can do your own nervous system regulation. All of those things are foundational to letting go of the past.
Hmm.
But if you're not connected to the ways in which you live your life every single day in service of keeping your own nervous system perpetually dysregulated, it doesn't really matter, I mean, it
Right.
does, but you just are going to continue to dysregulate yourself every day.
Yeah. Was there anything specific that you started doing when you were in Costa Rica and having this journey that you were like, oh, wow, I start to feel a shift? Was there like an aha of some sort?
Yeah. And I thank you for asking that. For sure, the work that I do with people is a reflection of the work for myself as well. And that is really learning a whole bunch of different things. It's like creating safety within and like you help yourself feel safe. I mean, right now it's very popular to say, oh, you're triggering me or I don't feel safe. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, that's true for sure. But like that is all within you. You create your own safety within.
Hmm.
And so I work with clients to build the container so that you can actually begin the process of building that self-trust. And then another part of it is this idea of emotional regulation and
Hmm.
capacity. And, a lot of us will create stories from emotions. And then from the story that they create from the emotions, then they make decisions. And actually, the decisions are based on stories that are not true, that are based on emotions that will pass.
Sure.
And then they create an identity from those stories. And that continues to keep your nervous system dysregulated. And it's all also not true. And so if you can learn, right? And so if you can learn to build capacity to handle your emotions, a lot of us have no real connection with that. I certainly didn't. I mean, for heaven's sakes, it's like I had 3 food businesses and 75 employees and customers out the door all the time. It's like I had no emotional regulation. Like I never learned that in my life. I came from a very traumatic childhood. And I built a life in service of keeping my own nervous system dysregulated, which, by the way, felt perfectly normal.
Right. Of course. It's all you know. It's all your nervous system knows too.
It was all I knew.
Right. It feels very comfortable.
And so once I learned to like be able to hold my emotions, build emotional capacity, like the capacity to hold all that is that you process and comes in every day and goes out. Everything that you feel is not everything that you are. And you don't need to create an identity around everything that you feel, but actually have the capacity to recognize is emotions are energy in motion.
Mm.
It's just an energetic frequency that comes in and it goes out. And we attach to that and they like, I'm depressed, like I'm a really depressed person. And then you create a story and decisions and it's just the whole rabbit hole.
Right.
And then learning to deal with like the sensations within your body
Mm.
that come and arise from feeling the energy of all of these emotions. And it's dysregulating in your body. It's uncomfortable, it's agitating, and learning how to feel those sensations, hold those sensations, and recognize that, well, number one, that they will pass. And number two, that you have the capacity to hold all that. That's why we're built, that's how we're designed.
Yeah.
And number three, that you can actually modulate that and create, that's part of that safety. And you can self-soothe and all of those kind of things. And then what happens when you begin to learn how to do all that is number one, your body starts to trust you because you're trusting it. You're trusting your body is actually sharing something with you. And then you're listening and then you're taking aligned action. And then when you take aligned action, your body, it's like a positive feedback loop. It continues to want to like share more with you. And then you're like, oh my gosh, there's more I can do.
Yeah.
And more within, your body starts to trust you. You start to trust your body. And then from there, all of a sudden your health starts to shift without you actually going in and trying to do anything and fix that. So it's just a really beautiful, organic, natural process.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's everybody should have more emotional regulation.
They should. Yeah. And I'm wondering if like people find you and they just feel so out of control. And one of the gifts you're giving them is a way to gain that control back by building a different relationship with their body.
Yeah, that's a really insightful question because one of the things that happens, and you know that this is true too, is we have co-regulation and limbic resonance. So that is a real scientific thing that happens. And this is like when you walk into a really chaotic space and your body, your nervous system recognizes it immediately. And you immediately feel like, ooh, this is charged.
Yeah.
Likewise, when you walk into like, let's say a spa environment or something like that, and everything is so zen and so relaxed, you're just like, oh, you just immediately want to sink in with like relief. The same thing happens when we're working with people. And so my job is to have the calmest, most centered nervous system.
Yeah.
And your nervous system actually gravitates to co-regulate with mine. Regardless of what you think is going on, your nervous system is already in resonance with mine.
Interesting. Yeah.
And this is just how it works. And this is scientifically proven. And so your nervous system, so over time, your nervous system will learn to relax and rest and relax and rest. Every time you and I are in co-creation and every time you and I are talking, your nervous system is mirroring mine.
Mm.
And you're starting to feel calmer all the time. And then your nervous system wants to be like that because that's our natural state of being.
Yes.
And so once we can sink into what our true natural state of being is in our own natural resonance, then, and a lot of this happens so naturally, like you don't have to go in and tinker with it. Like your nervous system knows what to do. And in fact, your nervous system wants to do this. You know, it doesn't want to be regulated all the time, which is the reason why it creates all of these other problems in your body. It wants to be at rest and it wants to be at peace. And so
it wants to be calm.
It wants to be calm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am guessing based on how you described that. By the way, I have to say I feel so calm. Like, yikes. And I need nervous system regulation, like trying to figure that out in my own personal life with my own personal health. But so you call yourself a transformation guide on your website. So this feels like this might be where we're going, which is why I'm going to ask the question. So what exactly does that mean? And how do you put that to practice with your clients?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I think it's important to talk about the difference between change and transformation and the difference between a coach and a guide.
Yes.
Because a coach will coach you on change. Change is linear in trajectory. And change is not permanent. We can change the color of our hair. We can change our clothes. We can change our mind. We can change our diet. And we can change back, right? We can regain that weight. We can change the color of our hair whenever we want. We can change our mind, change our political affiliation. We can change anything. And change is not permanent. Transformation is.
Ooh. Okay.
And a coaching change is a linear trajectory, like a 30-day, like diet. And it's all a mentally driven process, right? Here's your workbook, here's the workshops, here's these like linear mental construct. Transformation begins from within, and it is a deep process. Transformation is a spiral. It's not linear. And transformation is very individual. So if I say, let's do a 30-day diet, you're on the same diet I'm on, and everybody in our group is on the same diet. We're all different physiologically. We have different health issues. All of us are different, but we're all on the same diet.
Yeah.
Transformation has none of that, none of those rules, because you're incredibly individual. You're you. And so we start with wherever you are. You are the guy. You are the one who leads this. I am holding space for your process. And it all starts from within you and the things that you're interested in. Like, so let's go back to the idea of that diet again. Well, let's say you've done a million different diets and you're like, I've already done all the kale stuff, but you're working with a group and this other woman is like, kale, I don't even know what kale is,
Yeah.
And so, but instead, we're going and working with exactly where you are and exactly who you are and exactly what's worked for you and what hasn't. And it all begins from within you and what your authentic expression is in any given moment. And we don't rush anything. We don't force anything. It's dictated by you. And I am just here to assist in your unfolding.
Right.
And supporting your entire path with wherever you are now and honoring everything that you've done, everything that you are. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to do. There's nothing wrong. You're beautiful and perfect exactly the way you are right now. And so when we can create this different container, then the transformation is permanent. You're never going to go back to the person that you were. And also it takes a different amount of time, right? Like it's nothing you can force. Transformation can't be forced. It's not a 30-day process.
Right. Yes.
It's something that unfolds in its own natural, beautiful timing at the timing and the pace of nature. Because we are nature and our nervous system, we heal in a completely different way. In the modern world, we like to force healing into a timeline.
Yes.
And it doesn't work like that. It's like you can't force spring to come early. You can't force the flowers to bloom. You can't force that baby to come before you're ready to give birth.
Right. Yeah.
And you can't force anything in the natural world. And so true deep healing is the exact same way. It's a matter of holding space and building trust for the actual process of healing itself and being in the now and just being with what is and learning to trust the wisdom of that.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. So that's how transformation is different, that I hold the space for you and your process and the beauty of you, and then get you in touch with your own beauty, your own wisdom, your own ability to affect change within your own life. And then that's just it's an honor for me, but it's an honor as well because to be in a container where you're always witnessed, a lot of times we're not always witnessed. Right. And you're witnessed in your entirety, in the beauty of everything that you are right now. And there's nothing that I'm witnessing your entire process. And there's something really powerful about the witnessing and observing thing. Kind of goes into a little bit of quantum theory.
Yeah.
But that right there, the observer effect, creates a tremendous amount of change all by itself. So I don't know if I answered that question, but
You did. So I have a couple questions. So I think most people work with you for many months, right? 6 months, 9 months,
9
maybe
months,
even
yeah.
longer, right? 9 months. Okay.
Yep.
So how do you help people stay patient? Because I feel like our society that we live in, we just innately are not patient human beings at all. I myself included, I am not patient at all. And it also feels like it's not like, oh, I'm going to do this week. And next week, I'm going to like see, just like you said with the diet, like I'm going to do this. And then next week, I'm going to weigh a pound less. And then I'm going to keep doing it. And then the following week, I'm going to weigh a pound less. And it's like, it feels, I don't want to say it feels woo woo, but it feels abstract. And so, how do you help your clients be comfortable with the abstractness of this process?
Yeah, it is abstract, but do you know the nervous system in and of itself feels abstract, right?
Yes.
And I think that that's such a beautiful question, and it just starts really, really slow. And it is. It's something for sure. When I first started, I felt the same way. I like to say that I'm like in type A recovery, you know. I I had this totally different life. And you just have to, it's just one day at a time. It is really slow and it is maybe frustrating at first. But you know what's really interesting is while your mind is running a rat race trying to figure it all out, your body is responding. Kind of like, do you have children? May I
I
ask?
do. I do. I have a
Okay.
19-year-old who doesn't live at home
Oh,
anymore. But yeah, I have a
yeah.
19-year-old.
Okay.
Yep.
So you remember when you're pregnant and you're going to go into labor and have this baby? And you have this whole mindset around how your birth is going to go.
Yeah.
And like, can you control when this birthing is going to happen and what it's going to look like?
Right.
And did you ever have any sort of like all these mental things going on, like how this process was going to unfold?
It
And then
never
you
is the
actually,
way you think it's going to be.
it's never the way
Yeah.
you think. But also for me anyway, I think I was super profound because when I was in labor, it was like your body knew what to do.
Mm,
And it didn't matter what you were thinking about it.
yeah.
You could think anything you wanted, but your body, in all of its wisdom and all these beautiful feminine codes of birthing, like was always within you. And it
Yeah.
didn't really matter what you wanted to put into it, like a birthing plan or it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your body knew exactly what to do, no matter what your mind was thinking.
Mm,
And so back to your question, this is the exact same way. Because once we're in this, we build a container.
mhm.
And once we build the container, then I'm the one who holds the space for the container. And your brain will do a whole bunch of somersaults and protest the process and do all the things the brain does. While your body will actually immediately start to respond because your
Mm.
body knows, your
It
body
recognizes.
automatically recognizes it. And so, yeah, there will be these moments of like dichotomy where you're just like mentally like, what? And then, but your body's like, oh no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And just like you're giving that birth, you know, where your brain is like, oh no. And your body's like, no, we're doing this, you know?
Mm.
It's actually the exact same way. It feels a little bit different, but you're birthing a new you. So that's why it's a 9-month process.
Yes. Right. Yes.
Yeah, it's a birthing process. So it starts slow and small and like the beginning of your pregnancy. And then it culminates with the end and you're a transformed, healthy person.
That's so
Yeah.
fascinating. Do the people who come to you, are most of them coming to you truly from a health perspective, or are they coming to you from, like you said, like all of a sudden your life, you were like, I need a new life?
I think in a lot of our healing path altogether, you know, it takes some time. It's this particular type of person who is really ready and willing to really understand that true change just comes from within and they're ready
Mhm.
to go on that journey
Mm.
because they've tried enough other things. And in a lot of times in our healing path, we can try certain things and they work for a minute and then they kind of lose their steam.
Yeah.
And you can become frustrated, or you could try a different thing, or a different diet, or a different path, or a different doctor. Or even if you're on a traditional trajectory, you start to recognize other ways in your life where you're disempowered and you have given up your own power. And you start to recognize that, wait a minute, like this is not how I wanted to live my life. You know, I thought I wanted to be healthier and happier and I didn't want to be debilitated or whatever that process is. But at some point, everybody has to come to it within themselves that they're ready for the deep change and for the
Mm.
work. And they're ready to surrender to a process that's bigger than they can mentally imagine. And they want it for themselves. And
Yeah.
so I think it's really all around that. You have to authentically believe that you're capable of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to authentically, energetically be ready for the process and to commit to it. And then once you are authentically ready and energetically connected to the truth of that, like within yourself, like this is something that I am empowered to do and I know that I am capable of it,
Yeah.
then that's where we begin.
Right. Wow. How do you stay in all of this positive balance? Like you feel so calm. How do you personally, how do you
Yeah.
stay there? Because life is still life, like to think that everything can be sunshine and roses, even when you get to spend part of the year living in Costa Rica, like life is still happening. So how do you
Yeah.
stay in this space personally?
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I do. I have a number of different practices. Like I used to get right out of bed and jump on my computer and jump on Instagram, make my coffee and make my to-do list and da, 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 da. No, I don't do that anymore.
We all want your life right there, right now. All of us are like, sign me
No.
up.
Because that just gets your nervous system dysregulated right away. And instead, I come into myself every morning. I have a sacred time, which is about an hour to an hour and a half every morning. I meditate, right? I wake up, I pee. It's dark still, wherever it is I am. And I just sit for 30 minutes. And sometimes it's an affirmation. Sometimes it looks a little bit different, but it's a 30-minute meditation. And then I make my coffee, or you can make your tea, or whatever you do for your morning beverage. And I sit outside in nature.
Mm,
And I don't open my computer. I don't check on my phone. I don't do a single thing. And I sit in nature for at least another 30 minutes in silence and just align myself with the energy and vibration of nature, because we are nature. We are from nature. We are part of nature. And like
yeah.
that's our true vibration, our true essence. And I just watch nature. I watch the
Yeah.
sun. I watch the clouds. I watch the birds. I watch whatever is happening and unfolding. And I just sit in silence with myself and just really center myself for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just put myself first at all times, which sounds selfish, but when you learn to choose yourself first all the time, like choose what serves you only always, in the process, you make everybody else happy and you serve everybody else.
Yeah.
A lot of times we serve everybody else first and we give ourselves what's left, and
Mm-hmm.
there never is anything left at the end of the day. And so when you start your day by only serving yourself first, then you have a lot more to give to the world after that.
Yes. Oh, and I always say, if you don't take care of you, no one else is going to. And that's not a new
Yeah.
phrase. We all know that. But, it's like
Yeah.
you need to be able to fill your cup and energetically balance yourself if you ever think you're going to be able to get anyone else to do anything or be your best self to help anybody else either.
Yeah. And I do the same practice at night in kind of a reverse. And I spend at least 30 minutes, sometimes only 15, but in silence, and just let the energy of the day just sort of leave my body. Your system wants to release all that. Sometimes we just don't have any sort of like demarcation between the end of our day and the beginning of night. And you have all these people who have dysregulated sleep and all of these other things. And if we're not giving ourselves a little pause at the end of the day to release all of the day and the energy of all the things that we did and the people
Yeah.
that we were with and all of that stuff, and then that can dysregulate our sleep. And so I give myself a space at the end of the day to just have silence, and it doesn't necessarily need to be meditation, but it just is silence and rest to just allow everything to just sort of leave my body so that I can have a better night's rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, which
Yeah.
sounds heavenly. All right. And I am sure there's some people that are listening that are like, okay, that sounds really great for you that you get to spend an hour and a half every morning in this calm state and, all of this. Like it sounds heavenly and lovely, but that just
Mhm.
doesn't fit into a lot of people's
Mhm.
realities.
Mhm. Totally.
So, what would you suggest to someone who's listening in terms of what they could do on a smaller scale to help themselves be calm, tap into their nervous system a little bit, like dabble in this concept of regulating their nervous system when, they might have like 3 young kids and like that's nice. There
Totally.
just isn't an hour and a half left in the morning, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, what suggestion would you
Uh-huh.
give for the people that are in that stage of life?
Yeah, for sure. Because I think that wouldn't have been available to me at a previous chapter of my life, for sure. But I think it's a couple of different things. First, starting with your belief system that you come first
Mm,
and that you deserve to put yourself first and that this is your only one life and putting yourself first in this mindset. And so even if you only have 5 minutes
mm,
at the beginning of the day, and maybe it doesn't look like meditation, but maybe while you're brewing your coffee or before the kids and before all the things, you have 5 minutes.
yeah.
And even 5 minutes to just come into your center, like I deserve this. I am worth this.
Hmm.
And coming into like sitting with yourself and just really taking some deep breaths and centering yourself, because what happens is it just builds on itself all on its own.
Yeah.
You will find the time
Yeah.
actually. We give away our time in a lot of different ways, social media, for heaven's sakes. We do give away our time. And you know what? You will always find time for the things that are important to you. You
Very
always
true.
do.
Yes, you always do.
And so as soon as you come into that truth of I am worth this and I deserve this and I want to put myself first, I believe that that is true. Then
Hmm.
you start in small ways, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes sitting in your car before your kids race out of the school to jump
Yeah.
in the car and you rush off to after school activities. But if you just commit to 5 minutes a couple times a day to just coming into that, like, I deserve this, I am doing this for me, you can begin just there, just owning and just believing that you deserve it. And maybe even looking at other ways in your day in which you give away your day to other things that don't serve you.
Yeah. I love that concept of really
Yeah.
looking at your time and think of all the ways that you give away your time. And I think,
Yeah.
personally, we give a ton of time to social media, but we also give a lot of time to being really frustrated and annoyed and anxious and angry with things that happen. And we often spend a lot of time like rehashing those situations and
Yes.
like, especially in work, right? Or in corporate America, like you're rehashing the situation that happened and that was bad. And you're then giving that negativity even more time. So I think it's a
Yeah.
really practical and very cool concept to get people to think
Mhm.
about how their time is being used. And wouldn't it be cool if instead of rehashing or saying that negative thing that happened again to the fifth person and explaining it again and complaining to the fifth person, like let that go, give yourself those 10
Let that go.
minutes and
Yeah.
do something
Yeah.
else with that time. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. That is
Exactly.
really
Yeah.
powerful. All right, before we run out of time, I want to talk about a couple of things. What is nervous system restoration that you talk about on your website, and how is that different from some other healing modalities that might be out there?
Well, we've been talking about nervous system restoration this whole last hour.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I wanted to make sure because it's on your website. So I want to make sure it's like really clear to everybody if they go and follow you and go look you up. Like that is what we talked about. Okay.
Yeah, this entire conversation is all of the layers of nervous system restoration. And that is building this container, me meeting you where you're at, you coming into this truth and alignment, you trusting that your body is going to do this, building co regulation and limbic resonance, learning to build emotional capacity, learning to befriend your nervous system. And all of these are a lot of layers. Also, looking at a lot of traumatic release will actually happen in this process
Mm,
because we bury a lot of our past traumas that were never met and seen and all of those things
yeah.
in our body and in our nervous system. That's where it lives and it wants
Yeah.
to come out.
Yeah.
And it's trying desperately to come out. And so, and it does, it starts to come out naturally in this process because it feels safe
Mm,
and it feels held. And so traumatic things will come up that you're not even mentally, it'll just come into your life. It'll just come up. And you'll be like, oh my God, Christine, I think I want to talk about this thing. And I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. Because
Yeah.
Second, it comes into your mind and you're ready, then I hold the space for that to be seen and felt and moved through so
Right.
that it can leave your body and leave your nervous system and leave that distortion, leaves your energy field. And so it's a multi-layered process. And then you start to realize, like, oh my God, then you start to see your relationship with your nervous system and how you create your own stress
Yes. Sure.
and how you are in control of like remodeling what that looks like. And that
Mhm.
is all within you have the power to do that. And so it's esoteric, but it's also very specific. It's all of these micro layers that all get built into the container in our work together every day, all the time through a 9-month process.
Yeah.
And your body is what actually leads the charge and informed by, and then it comes into your mind as a great idea. And then that's where I meet you.
Yeah.
But then through that process, yeah, so you have all of these things like somatic experiencing and restoration, and all of those micro things lead to the restoration of your
Right.
nervous system, which then leads to transformation in your life.
Transformation. Yeah, sure. Right. Makes perfect sense to me. I get it. I get it. Okay. So I want to make sure we talk about this because I talked about it in the beginning. You live in, I don't know what the right words are. You spent time in Costa Rica. You spent time in Colorado. I think you might even spend time somewhere else. Can you talk to her about how did you build that lifestyle?
Well, it was definitely always a dream of mine to, well, I left restaurants. And so it was a very dense, like, energy of like being rooted in one place. You don't get to do that when you have restaurants. You
Yes.
don't get to leave for very long. And I just really wanted to build a life of expansion and freedom.
Mm.
And that's one of my core values is expansion and freedom. And so that was really, really important to me when I was like liberated from my very 3D heavy life of
Yeah.
restaurants and storage units and all that stuff. And so I think I've been really blessed to just design my life in this work. It all happens online and then on WhatsApp. And it's just the way in which I built this container. And so, yeah, I've been able to create this life. But I don't, I think that it's worked for me for the time to, I will always have a life of expansion and freedom because
Yeah.
that's the life that I want.
Yes.
But I am in the process of moving back to Boulder, and I feel like I'm ready for a more rooted life and to be reunited with my storage unit.
But that's
And
good. That demonstrates it's like
yeah.
everything is sometimes right for a time or a season, and being okay
Mhm.
flowing with that and doing what was the right thing for you
Yes.
at that time for you to be living your best
Yeah.
life. And then recognizing that a pivot is okay, whether that's where you live, who your spouse is, who you're partnered with, what your job is, like recognizing and giving yourself the permission to have that ebb and flow in life. As you start out saying, like that's part
Yeah.
of transformation. It's not linear, it's up and down and up and down. And
Mhm.
that's part of the
Mhm.
whole journey. So it's a beautiful representation
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, thank you for noticing that. And it really is. It's a different chapter. Change is it changes change. Like everything is always changing all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of us want to not change, and that's not how nature works. That's not how the world works. We're always changing. And
Yes.
so if you can ride the changes of life and embrace where you are, I think that everything would flow a lot easier for sure. There'd be a little bit less stress in everybody's lives.
Yeah, there sure would
Yeah.
be. All right.
Yeah.
So for our friends out there who have MS, right, and
Mhm.
they are looking for help, whether it be with you or someone else, and they feel really overwhelmed, what would you suggest to them as a place to start to give them some hope?
The most important question that you can ask yourself is, are you living your best and only life that you have?
Mm,
And are you living a best version of the only life you are living here,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And are you living that life? Or do you feel like there's more? Do you believe that it's possible? Do you
Mm,
authentically believe that it is possible for you to live a better life than what you're living now?
yeah.
And not only do you believe it, but do you believe it's within you
Mm,
to actually be the one to affect change within your own life? Because all healing is self healing.
yes.
And we all are born with this intrinsic ability to heal. This is how we're designed. I think, yeah, you just really have to sit and look at yourself and sit in that 5 minutes and be like, how, how am I not living the best life I can possibly live? And a lot of times we're disempowered, especially in the disease process by doctors that scare you and believe that you're, especially of young children. My daughter was 3 and my son was 6 when I was diagnosed with MS. So
Mm,
I fully understand the fear and uncertainty. But
yeah.
I did know without question of a doubt, the vision I had for my future was that I would be dancing at my children's wedding.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah.
And so, like, what vision do you have for your future that you authentically believe that is within your power? And
Yeah.
how do you want to live this only life in the fullest, most amazing way possible?
That is so beautiful. That's so beautiful. That's like totally actionable and something that people can really
Mhm.
do. And they're really powerful questions. And I think you need to
Yeah.
really sit with those questions and be really honest with yourself, because that is where so much of it starts, is brutal honesty. I know I got here by having to be brutally honest with myself, and that's tough. Like
Yeah, it
it's not
is. But
easy, and it's very scary. But
yeah,
I thank you for coming on and sharing your journey, because you can demonstrate to people that it is possible. You
it
can
is.
deal with the fears of that. You can have massive change. You can get better. You can live a healthier life, and you can have some control over some of these medical diagnoses that can feel very
Yeah.
scary in many ways.
Yeah,
So
for
that is so
sure.
beautiful. Beautiful. I
Thank
love it.
you.
Okay, so before we run out of time, 2 things for you. One, I always love to ask people to recommend a book that has impacted, or books that has impacted themselves personally and professionally, because I'm a true believer that books can change lives. So I would love to know what book you recommend people should read.
Well, the book that's been my Bible for the last number of years is called The Great Work of Your Life by Stephen
Ooh,
Cope.
I
Mhm.
haven't read that one. Okay, I love that, because I do try to read all the books. So yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
love that book so much. And that's really was really great because, I love being a chef and I love cooking. I'm a really good cook.
Yeah.
And I love building community and all of those things. And when I lost all that, I was super despairing because I was just like, does this mean like I was doing the wrong thing? And when I was going through all these changes, and there was so much I didn't understand about what was happening to me because the transformation began without me even really knowing it.
Mm,
In my head, I was trying to like grasp onto all these things in my life that weren't serving me, but I was already changing from within.
mm,
And that book really was a beautiful way for me to recognize the true work of my life.
yeah. Ah,
And I think a lot of us are doing a job and we're not really living in service of what our true soul's path is supposed to be and how we're supposed to show up in this world and be of service. And so, yeah, I think that that book was really transformative for me.
I am going to get that and read that. So thank you very
Yeah,
much.
good.
Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to make sure you communicate or talk about? Did I miss anything? I'll put in the show notes how everybody can find you, your bio, all of the things, so people can follow, find you, email, reach out.
No, this was such a wonderful conversation. I think it was just beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Christine. Everything that you stand for is something that I am so passionate and just so curious about. Nervous system regulation, I think, is really powerful. And even just the thought that we can heal ourselves from within is something that is really high on my list of things that I'm trying to tune in personally to.
Hmm.
So I'm excited to get to share this with all the listeners, because I think all of us need more of this, and we need examples of people who are doing it to help us have faith that we can do it too. So I
We
thank you so
absolutely
much.
can.
I thank you for
Yeah,
coming
thank
on,
you.
for sharing your journey. We will stay connected. I will follow you. I encourage everybody to follow you and reach out if you have questions, whether you have MS or not. Christine's a
Or yeah,
valuable,
exactly.
she's a super valuable resource. And maybe one day in the future, she will help more than just people with MS. You never know. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Yeah. Guess I want to just say that I'm always happy to have an alignment call because I talk to a lot of people and I give freely of my time. I don't charge at all. You can contact me on my website. And even if you don't have MS, but you're curious about either the process for yourself or you're curious about where you should turn. I mean, and even if you don't have a disease, but you want to live in more alignment, I have a lot of intuitive knowledge and I'm happy to share and give gift of my time. So
Oh, well,
don't
thank you for
hesitate
that.
to reach out to me. Yeah.
Thank you. That is so
Yeah.
beautiful. All right, great. It was a pleasure to meet you, and we will stay in touch.
Pleasure.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the House of Germar podcast, where wellness starts within. We appreciate you being a part of our community and hope you felt inspired and motivated by our guest. If you enjoyed this episode, please write us a review and share it with friends. Building our reach on YouTube and Apple Podcasts will help us get closer to our mission to empower 1 million women to live all in. You can also follow us on Instagram at House of Germar and sign up to be a part of our monthly inspiration newsletter through our website, houseofgermar.com. If you or someone you know would be a good guest on the show, please reach out to us at podcast@houseofgermar.com. This has been a House of Germar production with your host, Jean Collins. Thank you for joining our house.